thank you for your patience. We are waiting on one member to have quorum. We'll be right with you at 6:10 p.m. Thank you.
This meeting of the City of Socorro City Council is set to begin. Due to the ongoing threat to public health, the City of Socorro, Texas Council and Commissions will be conducting a virtual meeting broadcasted by phone and live streaming services from council chambers located at 816 North Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, 79927, to practice social distancing and to limit the number of people physically present at one time. There will be no physical access to the location mentioned above. We do ask everyone to silence their electronics to avoid any sound interruptions. No disruptive behavior or outbursts will be tolerated. Violators are subject to call disconnection and possible prosecution. Anyone who has signed up to speak or to present will be called upon by the presiding officer to speak during public comment or on their specific agenda item in accordance with Government Code 551.042. La reunión de concilio de la Ciudad de Socorro está por empezar. Por el problema de salud pública en curso, el Concilio de Comisiones de la Ciudad de Socorro, Texas, transmitirá su reunión por teléfono y servicios de transmisión en vivo desde la sala de concilio localizada en 860 Norte Rio Vista Road, Socorro, Texas, 79927, para practicar el distanciamiento social y limitar el número de personas físicamente presentes. No habrá acceso físico a la ubicación mencionada anteriormente. Les pedimos a todos que silencien su equipo electrónico para evitar interrupciones de sonido. No se va a tolerar ningún tipo de comportamiento perjudicial o revoltoso. Quien no siga estas reglas, su llamada será desconectada y puede ser infraccionado. A quien se haya apuntado para hablar o presentar será anunciado por el oficial conduciendo la reunión para hablar durante los comentarios públicos o sobre su tema específico de la agenda de acuerdo con el Código de Gobierno 551.042.
Thank you for joining us. It is 6:13 p.m. This meeting is called to order. Item number 2, Ms. Rodarte, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3, establishment of quorum.
Unmuted.
Ruben Reyes,
Here.
Cesar Nevares,
Here.
Ralph Duran,
Here.
Mayor Ivy Avalos,
Here.
Victor Perez is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Item number 4, public comments.
Mayor, we have no speakers for public comment.
Mr.
Mayor.
Reyes?
At this moment, I would like to entertain a motion to move items 18, 19, and 20.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Mayor and Council, Board and Commissions. Item number 18, discussion and action to approve the appointment of Andres Chavez to the Civil Service Commission, Place 3.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 19, discussion and action to approve the appointment of Daniel Padilla to the Building and Standards Commission, Place 2.
Make a motion to approve the appointment of Daniel Padilla to the Buildings and Standards Commission, Place 2.
Second.
Ruben Reyes, Mr. Reyes,
I think he's frozen.
I think he's frozen.
Mr. Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 20, swearing in of newly appointed commissioners. Gentlemen, please raise your right hands and repeat after me. I,
I,
please state your name,
Andres Chavez,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of office
of the,
of the
state your commission,
Civil Service Commission
Building and Standards Commission
of the city of Socorro, Texas,
of the City of Socorro, Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and the laws of the United States
the Constitution and the laws of the United States
and of this state.
and of this state.
One more. Let's see. I, please state your name,
I,
Danny
Andres
Padilla,
Chavez,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I have not directly or indirectly
directly or indirectly
paid, offered, promised to pay,
paid, offered, promised to pay,
contributed, or promised to contribute
contributed, or promised to contribute
any money or thing of value,
any money or anything of value,
promised any public or employment
promised any public or employment
as reward to secure my appointment
as a reward to secure my appointment
or confirmation thereof.
or confirmation thereof.
Congratulations, gentlemen. You're part of our city commissions. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Moving on, presentations, item number 5, presentation by the city manager regarding May 2021 monthly report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I will provide you May 2021's highlights for our city departments. Our municipal courts department collected $63,932, received 466 citations from Socorro PD, 3 citations from DPS, and 22 animal control, 102 ordinance violations. Our HR department had civil service on May 3rd to set a grievance hearing for Tony Ortiz. Hearing is scheduled for June 28th. There was 4 separations. Our city planner, Michael Medina, equipment operator, Roland Apodaca, 2 from our police department, Officer Joshua Gonzalez, and Detective Herschel Wagner. There was no new hires in the month of May. Our Parks and Public Works Department opened the splash pad for Memorial Day weekend, the removal of damaged historic medallion on Socorro and Wynn Road, safety soldier set up at Bulldog Park, Milled Place, Montevideo, Melton, Bejar, Valle Palomar, and San Isidro. They did pave Judy Lane and continue to maintain, mow, and groom all city parks and ponding areas. Our police department received 1,692 calls for service, made 29 arrests. Officers continue to attend trainings to keep them in compliance with the certification of TCOs. Our city clerk department prepared agendas and minutes for meetings scheduled for May 6th and May 20th, received 34 open records, responded to 30. Our planning and zoning department collected $72,916, issued 289 permits, issued 52 registrations, 4 applications, and 63 letters. Our code enforcement gave out 110 notice of violations issued in the month of May, cleared 104, and issued 57 citations. Our recreations department delivered 760 senior meals for the month, conducted 152 senior welfare calls, continue to work with Code 4 vaccination clinics, working on the new city website with Alejandra and Esteban. There was no HLC meeting in May due to lack of quorum, and they kept up with all social media platforms, media inquiries, and press releases. Our IT department is working on the required training for security testing through KnowB4, completing 365 implementation to all staff, and troubleshooted all IT-related issues for the city departments. Our grants department for May has been preparing and supporting the following project reimbursements for the CARES Act funding. Also has been support with TechStop projects and economic development. Completed the key final steps towards the eCivis grant management software integration with accounting software towards the implementation of grants management software and all grants. Continue to work with all departments to see what grants are available. Our city auditor submitted the first and second draft of planning and zoning standard operating procedures. Continued test work for cash disbursements from October 2020 through February 2021, and purchase card disbursement review for February 2021 through April 2021. And finalize the bank reconciliations and journal entries for the month of May. That completes the highlights of the departments for the month of May. I don't know if you all have any questions. And that completes my presentation, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Olarte.
Thank you.
Moving on to consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Moving on to our regular agenda. Public hearing of an ordinance, item number 9. Public hearing of an ordinance for the proposed rezoning of tract 16D1, block 10, Socorro Grant located at 11401 Alameda Avenue from M2 heavy industrial to C2 general commercial. It is now 6:24 p.m.
Mayor, we have no speakers for public hearing.
It doesn't seem like no one's on the queue, ma'am.
Okay. It is now 6:25 p.m. Public hearing is now closed. Item number 10, second reading and adoption to the hearing that just occurred.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an application to change the zoning of property at 11401 Alameda. This property is located at the intersection of Passmore and Alameda. They're changing it from M2 to C2. The owner of the property is aware that once they change the zoning, M2 will not be able to come back anymore. They agreed to that. They're cleaning the property. They're no longer interested in having a junkyard, so they're gonna clean it up, and they want to turn it into a commercial lot, a car sales lot. I don't know if you have any questions.
I don't know which one's worse, but
Mr. Terrazas, will they have ponding in this C2 area? Or does that require any ponding? I'm curious.
Yes, if they're gonna some grading and some asphalt where the cars are gonna be displayed, they are gonna be required to provide ponding area. Yes.
there.
Mr. Nevares?
Joe, will this be the same owner, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez is absent, and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 11, public hearing and regarding an ordinance providing for an amplified sound permit in certain locations and zoning classifications, and eligibility for and procedures to obtain one.
Motion to approve?
Second.
It's a public hearing.
Hearing. Yeah.
Sorry.
Any speakers?
No speakers, Mayor.
But you have to open the public hearing.
Oh, it is now 6:28 PM.
There are no speakers signed up, and there's no one on the queue.
Okay. We'll just give them a little bit of time.
I have somebody trying to connect through Zoom.
I think that's Yvonne.
Okay. Since there are no public speakers, public hearing is now closed at 6:28 PM.
Before we continue, can we identify the caller that just joined our meeting?
Yes, ma'am. Who-
Can caller ending in 8892 please identify themselves?
Miss Colombia
Can you hear
Lobos,
me?
is that you? Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we got.
Yes.
Hello?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
It is Miss Colombia.
For the record, Mayor, Mrs. Colom Villalobos has joined the meeting at 6:29.
Okay. So item number 12, second reading and adoption to the hearing that just occurred.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The City of Socorro's noise standards are strict and include a noise zone chart. Zones are set up according to what activities take place in the area. For example, all resident structures are in Zone 1, having a noise limit of 50 decibels between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. This number increases to 55 between 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. Socorro allows entities in Zone 2 commercial properties to generate more noise because the activities of business and manufacturing require it, depending on the industry. For this reason, between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m., Socorro's noise ordinance allows non-manufacturing businesses a limit of 60 decibels. And during the evening hours, only noise levels of 55 or less are permitted. For manufacturing or Zone 3 establishments, the limit is 65 decibels in the evening hours, whereas during the day it's 70. I do want to share a decibel chart, just so you can get an idea of how strict our, can you all see? Yes?
Yes.
And this is for this chart. I actually got it from the CDC, and it tells you. And as you can see, a washing machine and dishwasher are considered 70 decibels. City traffic inside the car are 80 to 85. In the best interest of the city, staff recommends approval of the amplified sound permit. This amendment adds language to the definitions, application process, renewal, denials, suspensions, revocation, appeals, permit standards, and enforcement and violations. So I do recommend approval. I don't know if you all have any questions.
Mayor, may I?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Mayor and Council, Jim Martinez, City Attorney. I just wanted Council to be aware. The city administration brought this to our attention and asked us to prepare a proposed amendment. We, of course, did so. Your administration had a what I think is a very sound recommendation, not to turn a phrase, but it came up as an operational issue. A business came forward and had some concern about the sound ordinance, which caused your administration to look at it. And once we reviewed it, yeah, it became obvious. I mean, the current standards, it's almost unworkable. Your average normal conversation is the limit, the decibel limit for most commercial areas during the day. Well, that obviously creates a problem if you're going to have more than one. I mean, every shop or restaurant, any retail center, which the city is trying to encourage, which generates good tax revenue, would automatically be violating the sound ordinance. And so based on that, your administration recommended a revision to it, and we provided that to council. I did something we want to emphasize for council. Look, we kind of, we eyeballed it. We said, look, this is the one we're going to propose. And ultimately, it's certainly a policy decision for city council. It doesn't, importantly, and so my point is twofold. Number one, maybe more than usual, this is probably an ordinance as dry and as unpleasant as it is. It's probably worth reading more than once because it is a policy decision for council. And number two, it's not a blanket authorization. It doesn't increase sound permissible decibel levels everywhere at all times. What it really does is it gives your administration a mechanism. It gives them some discretion to issue a special permit for sound, for amplified sound at certain times in certain locations under certain conditions. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Mr. Duran?
Do we even have a machine that can measure the decibels?
Yes, sir, we do. The police
Okay.
department has.
Mayor, and for the record, Mr. Perez joined the meeting at 6:30.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes, you had a question?
Yes, who's gonna monitor that? Is it co-compliance or PD?
So it just depends when we receive the complaint. If it's at night, they'll call dispatch. Normally, people do call dispatch or 911 if they have a noise complaint on the weekend or at nights. If it's during the day, our code enforcement can be out there enforcing.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez.
I think it's a good idea. Can you hear me first of all?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
And Ivan Colom Villalobos. Ms. Villalobos? Is absent.
Moving on to City Clerk Department, item number 13, discussion and action on an order scheduling a uniform election to be held in the city of Socorro, Texas on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021, for the purpose of electing city council members, Representative District 1, Representative District 2, and Representative District 3.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Olivia Navarro, City Clerk. And this is just the orders so that we can start accepting the applications starting on July 19th through August the 16th. Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos. Is absent.
Grants Department, item number 14. Discussion and action to approve a match of up to $132,805 for the submission of a grant application to the U.S. Department of Justice fiscal year 2021 Community Policing Development CPD Crisis Intervention Team's solicitation for the Socorro Police Department. Do we have a
Motion
motion?
to approve.
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Alejandra Valadez, Grants Coordinator. We did come before you all during our last council meeting to request approval for the submission of this grant application. Since then, we have reviewed our internal data in terms of our dispatch numbers, calls for services related to mental health, domestic violence, emergency detention orders over the past year. We also met with Emergence Health Network, who is our local mental health authority, to flesh out a more concrete budget for this program. They have already established 2 CIT programs, both with the city of El Paso and also El Paso County. So they have all of the expertise and training that we need to get this program started. With that, we are here to request your approval for the match that would be tied into the development of this crisis intervention pilot program. In your backup, we did include some information regarding the justification and the need in our community. In 2020 alone, the Socorro Police Department received over 1,000 domestic family violence calls for service. We know that some of these calls are related to mental health. Specifically, we did receive 83 suicide-related calls, 628 calls requesting a welfare check. From October 2019 to September 2020, we had 82 emergency detention order related calls, 84 suicide related calls. And then you can also see that from 2018 to 2021, our calls related to suicide incidents nearly doubled, or more than doubled actually. It's for that reason that the police department is recommending 2 crisis intervention teams. Each team would be made up of 1 law enforcement officer and 1 qualified mental health professional. If you look at your backup, you will also see how that budget breaks down. This is paying for personnel through Emergence Health Network, supplies. The Socorro Police Department also needs to acquire some of the equipment that they need. The total project cost is $377,000 for 2 years. The grant would pay $250,000, and so the remainder of that would be our local share. And we do have Chief also, in case he can answer more questions.
Mr. Rodarte?
Yes, Mayor. I do want Chief to point out some information. We did have a discussion over this, and I think it's important for council to be aware that this is a very expensive program. It hasn't come down that it's mandatory. We're thinking it will in a couple of years. But right now, and Chief can talk a little bit more, but we do feel it's a very expensive program, and maybe we should consider. But I know Chief has a little bit of more information to provide you all.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm not driving the van that's behind me, so. I just wanted to, so obviously this subject is, or topic is in the conversation nationally, especially when it comes to police reform. Mental health is certainly one of the legislative items that came up this year for discussion for the Texas legislature. It did not go forward as a mandatory obligation at this point, but that doesn't mean that we should ignore the conversation that's taking place. There are 2 robust mental health programs that are already in place. Alejandro already mentioned those 2. That's El Paso, the city of, and then the Sheriff's Department as well. It's not a cheap program. And I should point out that the cost, and like we mentioned last time when we came for the grant application, the cost is not the police. The cost is actually the mental health workers, and then all of the support items that go along with that. Things like a radio, telephones, laptops, body armor, on-call pay, hazard pay. Those are all additional items that get added to their salaries. So we are talking about, over a 2-year period, we're talking about almost $380,000. The police budget as it sits right now can't absorb that. We would have to increase the police budget, not only for the mental health portion, which would add the civilian employees, but then you also know, we've been talking about it long enough, that we also have officer needs as well, because our numbers aren't where they're supposed to. And you can see by the numbers, by the way, just on mental health, 1,000 domestics, 600 welfare checks, 83 emotionally disturbed individuals that we had to detain, another 83 suicide attempts. So that's just a small portion of what we're dealing with, besides what the normal activity is. So the officers, have to be added to the force as well, just so we can handle the calls for service that the city is currently seeing. I can take any questions. I do think this is a very important program, but I wanted to bring it back. Alejandro and I, we're talking about this just because of the cost of the program that we're talking about.
Mr. Perez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Chief, for my own clarification, we're talking about an individual riding along with a police officer. Is that correct? Or is it the police officer with expanded training on mental health situations and being able to address them?
So that's a good question, sir. So what we're talking about, so every police officer that we have currently goes through a 40-hour CIT program. That's mandatory through TCO. So we have to do that anyway. But we're talking about an enhanced training program that the police officer would go through, and then that police officer would be partnered with the civilian mental health worker. In fact, they would both go through the same training as a team to start that partnership process. So those mental health workers would actually be deployed on an 8-hour shift, both of them, at separate times, but they would be deployed with their officer partner, and then they would be dispatched to the mental health calls.
Follow-up question, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Perez?
Also then, in terms of protecting the civilian, what measures will we take to protect? Because again, as you well know, situations may turn violent. And so what precautions on the front end will we be taking to make sure that their lives are protected as well, the civilian lives? Not necessarily, and I'm not saying the police aren't important, but they've got a gun by their side, or they've got protective gear. The civilian may not.
Yeah, no, I understand what your question is. So the reason why we're doing the partnership program and we're not doing solo deployments for the civilians is because I want that police protection there for them. Obviously, we walk into a situation, the individual is suicidal, they have a weapon, but that can very quickly change to a homicidal type situation. And I don't want to put a civilian in that instance. So what we do is we give them body armor. So they won't be allowed to be on the street without the body armor. And it's the same body armor that we wear as far as protection is concerned. And then the second thing is we're going to give them their own communication device. So we will give them a radio that will be shared between the two, because they'll be deployed at different times, but they can communicate directly to dispatch. They don't have to mess around with phones or anything. If they're looking for help, we'll give them a call number. They just come over the air, report who they are, where they're located, and then ask for the assistance that they need.
Thank you.
Mr. Reyes?
We've been approving a lot of the grants, and they're 1-2 years. Is there any chance that we might not get those grants in 2 more years? And
so, yeah, it's a federal government grant, right? So it depends on what the national conversation is at the time. Obviously, there's a lot of police conversation. So a lot of the grants that we're seeing right now are related to police. I mean, I've been doing this long enough where I can tell you that certain subjects that I have applied for grants for in the past, such as communications or dispatch centers or emergency operating centers, have disappeared because of the emphasis is not there anymore, and they moved on to whatever the new subject was. So I can't guarantee that they, obviously this is a hot topic right now, but I can't guarantee that they would be there the next time that we went to apply for something.
Mr. Duran?
Judging by the calls in 2018 of 40 and in 2020, 83, that's double. I know a couple of people who've lost their family members to suicide, and I think that this is something that we need to do to reduce the amount of suicides that we've had in Socorro. I don't know, Chief, if you got numbers of how many suicides we've had versus amount of calls.
Yeah, so 83 is the suicide or suicide attempts, because we don't differentiate when we get the call. It goes into the computer dispatch as the same. I can tell you this year so far we've had 45, so it looks like we're going to increase again. And this is not an anomaly. When I was talking to Emergence Network, who are the individuals that we're looking to partner with, they're telling me that El Paso's seeing the same thing.
So if we save one life with this program, I think it's worth it.
Mr. Perez?
And I think it bears considering that this will be a perfect partnership in terms of providing, having a professional, a mental wellness professional that will also provide, the resources to individuals where they may not know where to go and access services for whatever they need in terms of their mental health. So I think that this is a good, a way to having a liaison, so to speak, between the mental health services that are available and the city and the individual.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 15, discussion and action to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Laura Turon to offer an exhibit presentation of Paradox Traveling Art at the Rio Vista Community Center on July 31st, August 1st, and August 3rd, 2021 as part of the Texas Commission on the Arts Texas Touring roster.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. We are here requesting your approval for this agreement. It's actually 3 agreements, one for each of the dates that we're requesting the exhibit to be located at Rio Vista. The Texas Commission on the Arts is sponsoring the artist fees. The city does not have to pay anything for this exhibit. The agreement does state that our responsibility is to host the artist and the exhibit and also to help promote the exhibit. Laura Turon is a local artist, and you can see her work at right across the street from Casa Ortiz in Casa Podaca on Socorro Road. She has a very interesting light show display there. The exhibit that she's bringing here is the bus. It's an art installation inside of a bus that is hoping to honor the victims of the shooting that happened in Walmart on August 3rd. And we have requested the August 3rd anniversary date for us to host her here at Rio Vista.
Mr. Perez?
I think that's a great idea, Alejandra. Question, will there be communication or PR efforts with like the schools and the school districts or here in the area?
Yes, we have not yet talked about exactly what the marketing plan will be, but we will reach out to all of our partners to make sure that, as many people as can come out here can. That's one of the reasons we requested the exhibit on a weekend, July 31st and August 1st, and also on August 3rd, because August 3rd is a weekday, so not a lot of people can come. But we'll definitely be sending out that information to all of our partners.
Thank you.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 16, discussion and action to approve recent updates to the City of Socorro's Chapter 380 Economic Development Policy.
Motion to approve for discussion.
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. As you know, the City of Socorro has adopted a Chapter 380 Economic Development Policy. Back in 2014, we did bring the policy up for minor revisions on August 6, 2020, and those were approved. What you have now is a more updated policy that is guided by our meetings with our regional partners. We did meet with Borderplex Alliance, who is a regional economic development organization representing the El Paso Juarez Metroplex, and we gathered their feedbacks. We also met with Workforce Solutions and incorporated their feedback into the policy. We also gathered feedback internally from our administrative staff. And so this is what you have before you. In short, the policy provides more flexibility. And the reason why we're increasing the flexibility on what kinds of projects get incentives is because we need to be a little bit more flexible now that we're in the COVID-19 economic recovery phase. Not every business is going to have $50 million in capital investments to start a new project. Not every project will be able to pay every employee the median county wage. And so that's why we bring that to you. And if I can draw your attention to Section 5, it has the qualifications criteria. There are 5 qualification criteria. One of them is quality jobs. This is where the main change is at. We changed this to from median county wage to the position-specific entry median county wage, so that if a project proposes that they're going to give jobs to, I'm not sure, 50 laborers, for example, then we would look at the median county wage for a laborer, and they would qualify for that. So you know that a laborer would get different than an engineer or another type of position. So there's where that flexibility comes in. Our targeted locations are primarily the same as our previous policy. The business types have increased a little bit more. We are targeting a lot of our heritage and cultural tourism industries and projects that support that industry. Our next category is capital intensive project. For the most part, these stayed about the same, but it provides some incentives for projects that are $30 million in capital investments. And then we added a category for retail development. This is for projects that propose development or expansion of retail operations that fill an important void in the existing retail market. So something that doesn't exist in Socorro, but that they can prove that there's a demand or there's a void or need for this type of retail project. There are also some projects that we listed as specifically not being eligible for incentives. These are listed on page 6 of the policy. They include motel facilities, automotive sales, junkyard facilities, pawn shops, and some of the types of businesses that we have heard are not preferable from council. Not that they're not allowed, but just that they would not be receiving, we're not going to incentivize them through this policy. There are bonus incentives if a company locates their research and development operations to Socorro because research and development jobs typically pay higher. There are also incentives if the applicant relocates their headquarters to Socorro because that's expected to be higher paying jobs, and more jobs for the area. And lastly, you can see in Exhibit A, we have our target industry sectors. The first 4 of them mirror what the Borderplex Alliance is also targeting as their target industries in their strategic plan. We also have some of what was included in our previous policy, which are advanced logistics, military defense, and homeland security. And then the ones that were more recently added are the heritage and cultural tourism industry projects or project types. And they include hotels, bed and breakfasts, restaurants, breweries, bars, movie theaters, museums, cultural centers, large sports venues, theaters, and then of course we have our eco and agro-tourism, which would be something like a winery or something that takes advantage of our pecan orchards, or and then Exhibit B shows you a map of the targeted future growth areas. These are 4, 5, and 6, which are right around the east corner of the quadrant of the city. And with that, I'm not sure if you all have any questions. I did want to add that the economic development policy really should be revisited at least every 6 months to make sure that we are following current trends, industry trends. And it's even, the Borderplex Alliance made it clear that it's even more important now that things are so fluid with our economy that we come back and revisit this as we see needs in our COVID-19 recovery. And that is all.
Mr. Perez?
Thank you. Alejandra, quick question. With regard to, again, the PR aspect of this, how are we going to get word out to our constituency, but also, and again, I apologize, my dog wants to get into the meeting. I apologize for any extraneous noise. Regarding how being able to, for lack of a better word, recruit people to come in and establish or set up shop here. What are we going to be doing? What are we going to do to do that?
Right. So what we have started to do now is we have partnered with the El Paso Trade and Manufacturing Council. They're an economic development corporation, and we have an agreement with them of collaboration for 1 year. So during that 1 year, they have agreed to help us to market ourselves in various conferences, also through their website, and also through requests for information that are sent over to the city by the Texas Economic Development Office. So a company, for example, Apple wants to find a new headquarter. That's the stereotypical example. And so they approach the Texas Economic Development Office. The Texas Economic Development Office sends requests for information to all of the cities that could potentially host the Apple headquarters. Each city then responds with its incentives and tries to incentivize the company to come. We've started to do that. We've responded to some, and we have, from what we hear, we have promising property and real estate in Socorro that is ready for development. And so it's hit and miss. You try, it's very much like the grants world. You apply and you apply and you apply, and sometimes you get them and sometimes you don't. But that's what we've started doing. We're also developing our website. I know you've heard a lot about it, and we're hopefully going to reveal it at the end of the summer. That will include its own economic development webpage that talks about all of the wonderful reasons why you should come to Socorro to set up your business. And we're going to be working hard to get that out there.
But we'll take apples and oranges, right?
Yes, we'll take oranges as well.
Mr. Duran?
Will this project help businesses that are already established but want to expand? Or
Yes.
just for new businesses?
yes, if a business is proposing an expansion, that is also allowed as long as they fall into one of the criterias. And we encourage businesses that are thinking about expanding to look at the categories that are here. So sometimes during the preliminary phase of developing a project, you can match your project to make sure that you are getting some of the incentives here.
So, like, we have a brew pub in Socorro now, and I'm sure they would want to expand. So this program will help them to expand.
Absolutely. As long as they meet one of the criterias, they can get that incentive.
Mr. Reyes?
Just a quick question. Where would they go to apply or to get more information?
So we have an application on the City of Socorro's Planning and Zoning Department. Our previous policy is there. If this policy is also adopted, it'll also be uploaded there along with the application for incentives. Every application that we received is analyzed, and we conduct an economic development impact analysis. We bring that analysis to council and we explain to you all, listen, if we give this company incentives, tax abatements for 5 years, this is the kind of return on investments in terms of property taxes, sales and use taxes that we expect to see. And then council votes on it and we draft up a 380 agreement.
Ms. Mayor. Ms. Mayor. Ms. Mayor.
Ms. Villalobos?
Alejandra, you mentioned that we would have to revisit our what is it that we would have to revisit every 6 months our economic development policies, right? And is this a new board that we would have to create? This question is, I guess, for Alejandra or Mrs. Rodarte, or can one of our new other committees participate or be the front of reevaluating our policy?
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Rodarte?
A very good question, Ms. Colombia Lobos. Actually, this is a working document, so it's a living document. It's changing as we're evolving and growing. So that is the reason why we revisit. We also are working with Borderplex and the County of El Paso to work with us on the incentives and what we're seeing out there, just to keep up with the demand and to make sure that we become competitive. I don't know if you all want to create a board or someone to oversee this. It's just right now, because of all the movement that we're seeing, it's like we need to act on it now. We can't wait, you know, and yes, Alejandra said every 6 months, but sometimes we're gonna have to come in 3 months because we see a change and we need to add and become more competitive. So at that point, we would bring it back to council for approval. I don't know if that answers your question, but I mean, you're more than welcome as a council to create a commission or a board to oversee that. That would be completely up to you all.
I'm sorry, second part to my question. Do we have any committees that you can think of that this would fit like a glove?
No, ma'am, not currently.
Mr.
Okay,
Perez?
thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Perez.
Thank you. Adriana, or Alejandra, excuse me, or either one, Alejandra or Adriana. Couldn't the Certified Development Corporation oversee this? Because, I mean, they are an extension of the city in a way. So they would have the same interest in terms of the economic development for the city. Again, I don't know if that's permissible, but certainly they can do some of that function.
Correct. So they already do, and that's why we're amending this policy right now. Is you know, we have meetings, they pitch information, they see what's out there, and then we work with the policy that we have in order to become more competitive. Right. So we are. It's not just the city or Alejandra working on this. It's like staff with other agencies that are competing for the same type of businesses that are coming to the city of Socorro.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Planning and Zoning Department, item number 17, discussion and action on the easement agreement for Hidden Valley subdivision between the City of Socorro and El Paso Electric Company. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve for discussion?
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an agreement that was provided to us by the El Paso Electric. They're asking for permission to install some overhead lines in a subdivision that's under construction. This is Hidden Valley. It's right at the corner of North Loop and Anderson Road. What's happening here is that there's some power lines that are on the other side of Anderson Road, and they need to cross a line on one of the benches in the ponding areas to energize this subdivision. Because there's no easements recorded in this plat, they're asking for permission to record this document. The one that was provided to you has some red letters on it. Those red letters were added by our legal. We send it back to the El Paso Electric for the approval, and it's pending the answer from their legal to see if they're gonna accept it with new information. Here's Exhibit A. This is the lot where the ponding area is located. The overhead lines are gonna be running on this part. They're only gonna occupy about 5 feet by 35 feet long. I don't know if you have any questions.
Mr. Reyes?
They couldn't do anything underground instead of doing the power poles?
It doesn't matter if it's gonna be underground or overhead, because there's no easements. They're gonna be crossing over private property. It's necessary to approve this document so they can install the infrastructure.
Okay.
Mr. Perez?
I agree with Mr. Reyes. I thought that the electric company was heading towards not using poles anymore and doing underground work. That's one. Two, as far as the easements are concerned, that's pretty much standard. No, still, as far as having easements on properties or in properties.
And then also, I forgot to mention that everything in this subdivision is gonna be underground. All the electrical wires are gonna be underground. The only place where it's gonna be overhead is gonna be in the ponding area. And that's because it's pond. It's better to have overhead lines instead of underground.
Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you.
Ms. Mayor.
Ms. Villalobos?
Joe, so where are they asking for permission? Is it, whose private property are they crossing? And is that, if it's somebody's private property, are they aware? The owner's aware?
Yes, it's actually the city's property. To the El Paso Electric, we consider it private property. That's why
It's
they're
the
asking
city's
permission.
property is what?
Yes, ma'am, that is the reason why
I'm
it's
sorry.
coming to council for approval.
Okay, so it's the city's property that they're crossing over.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you're breaking off on me. That's why I can't hear if it's a yes or.
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
They're gonna be crossing the city's property.
Okay, alrighty. Okay, thank you. Give me a second.
Ruben Reyes.
Thank you, guys.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes, thank you.
Mayor and council, regular agenda. Item number 21, discussion and action to approve agreement with Cineroid Technologies pilot program, Bring My Pet Home with the City of Socorro.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We had approved this item a while back. This is just the agreement to solidify the agreement and to start the pilot program. The only additions is some standard language that needs to be added that the City of Socorro uses. But we are coming to you so you can approve the agreement.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos.
Yes.
Do we have items for executive sessions, Madam Mayor, to go in?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Do we have items for executive session?
Yes, we do.
Motion to move into executive?
Second.
Mayor, may I?
Mr. Martinez?
To consult
Yes, I would
with our
rec-
city attorney.
Yes, I would recommend that in addition to the items posted, that another reason to go, that the motion include a statement that you're going into executive session for the purpose of consulting with the city attorney on the two items listed.
3 items. There's 3.
3 items.
So noted.
So seconded.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos. Ms. Villalobos?
Yes. Yes.
are now out of executive. This meeting is called to order. We are now in regular session. It is 8:13 p.m.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to delete items 22 through 27.
Second.
We have to, Victor, we have to
Oh,
make.
excuse me, I apologize. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
25 and 26.
My bad, sorry.
So you want to delete,
So I'll go ahead and,
It was-
items, what was it, 20 through 22 and I
23,
apologize.
22,
23?
23, and 24.
24, and 27.
Mr. Vidalona, why don't you just make the motion?
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to delete items number 22, 23, 24, and 27.
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Muted.
Mr. Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Item number 25, discussion and action upon proposed acquisition of real property interest by eminent domain or otherwise relating to the expansion and/or renovation of Bovee Road.
I was having trouble opening my email. I tried several times, I couldn't, so I'll defer this motion to someone else.
Do we have a motion?
Wait, they're reading their email.
Mayor, would it be easier if I read it? If I read a proposed motion?
Yes,
I
please.
have it, Jim, if you want me to read it.
Or
Of course,
trying to
yes,
go
yes.
over it.
All 9 lines?
Yeah, it's eminent domain. We write them that way for a reason.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Okay, I'm like to make a motion that the city is authorized to construct an expansion and or renovation of Bovee Road at the location shown on the map included, the backup material provided to council. 2, the city is authorized to acquire by purchase or through eminent domain proceedings all necessary real property rights consisting of fee, title, easements, and other interest in land within the boundaries of such project, including without limitation, the rights involving the persons and or tracts identified in the list included in the backup material. Number 3, there is a necessity to acquire such rights for public use in connection with such project, being the purpose of providing, enlarging, or improving streets or other roadways and or straightening, widening, or extending streets as authorized by section 251.001 of the Texas Government Code. Number 4, the location and extent of such project and the acquisition of such rights is reasonable and necessary. Number 5, if necessary, in the opinion of the city manager, the city is authorized to file eminent domain proceedings to acquire such rights. Number 6, in connection with any eminent domain proceedings related to the project, the city is authorized to seek possession of the condemnation properties pursuant to section 21.021 of the Texas Property Code. Number 7, if such possession is sought, the city is authorized to make any deposits into the court registry as required by such law and to otherwise take all steps necessary under such law to obtain such possession. Number 8, the city manager is delegated the authority to determine whether such possession should be sought in a particular proceeding, and number 9, the city manager is authorized to sign any and all applications, bonds, contracts, pleadings, affidavits, and other documents as may be necessary to seek and obtain such possession. And I'm not repeating it.
Second. You need a drink of water there, Mr. Duran.
I know.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
I just wanted to add that Ms. Colombia Lobos is here. She just can't connect. She's thinking that we're, putting her on ignore, but we don't have that but we just can't hear her.
Motion to adjourn, Madam Mayor?
No, we need another
need
motion for
number-
item number 26.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's just, I'm tired. I apologize.
I gotta do this again?
Is it the motion for the Rio Vista?
Yes, it's
Now
item number
it's-
26.
Yes.
I've got it in front of me.
Okay, item number
it.
26, discussion and action upon proposed acquisition of real property interest by eminent domain or otherwise relating to the expansion and/or renovation of Rio Vista Road.
I'd like to make a motion that the city is authorized to construct an expansion and or renovation of Rio Vista Road at the location shown on the map included with the backup materials provided to council. 2, the city is authorized to acquire by purchase or through eminent domain proceedings all necessary real property rights consisting of fee, title, easements, and other interest in land within the boundaries of such project, including without limitation the rights involving the persons and or tracts identified on the list included with the backup materials. Number 3, there is a necessity to acquire such rights for public use in connection with such project, being the purpose of providing enlarging or improving streets or other roadways and or the straightening, widening, or extending streets as authorized by section 251.001 of the Texas Government Code. Number 4, the location and extent of such project and the acquisition of such rights is reasonable and necessary. Number 5, if necessary, in the opinion of the city manager, the city is authorized to file eminent domain proceedings to acquire such rights. Number 6, in connection with any eminent domain proceedings related to such project, the city is authorized to seek possession of the condemnation properties pursuant to section 21.021 of the Texas Property Code. Number 7, if such possession is sought, the city is authorized to make any deposits into the court registry as required by such law, and to otherwise take all steps necessary under such law to obtain such possession. Number 8, the city manager is delegated the authority to determine whether such possession should be sought in a particular proceeding, and number 9, the city manager is authorized to sign any and all applications, bonds, contracts, pleadings, affidavits, and other documents as may be necessary to seek and obtain such possession.
Second.
Thank you.
Ruben-
Mayor? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am?
Jim, I guess this is your question. If Ms. Colombia Lobos is stating that she is on the line, she can't vote, correct, if we can't hear her?
Right. The requirement under the remote procedures for public meetings is that you have to be able to communicate in real time with people who attend remotely. So if we can't hear her, then no, she can't respond.
Okay, she just wanted everybody to know that she is there and is able to hear you. We just can't hear her.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Ruben Reyes,
Yes.
Cesar Nevares,
Yes.
Ralph Duran,
Yes.
Victor Perez,
Aye.
and Ivan Colom Villalobos is absent.
Meeting adjourns at 8:23 p.m.
That guys.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Good
Be
night.
careful.